Look down at a bag of chips. You did not plan to eat the whole thing, but your hand keeps moving, again and again, and somehow the bag is empty and you barely tasted the last half of it. You feel a flicker of guilt, a quiet voice that says you should have more willpower. But that voice is lying to you, because for almost the entire human story, obesity was virtually unknown. Your ancestors were lean, strong, and effortlessly so. Not because they had more discipline than you, not because they starved, but for a reason so strange it will completely change how you see that empty bag in your hand. Let us start by killing the most popular explanation. Most people assume ancient humans were thin because they moved constantly, burning off everything they ate. It sounds obvious. It is also, mostly, wrong. The scientist Hermann Ponzer set out to measure this directly. He studied the Hadza, one of the last true hunter-gatherer peoples on Earth, who walk miles every day, dig, hunt, and climb. By every assumption, they should burn far more calories than an office worker glued to a chair. They do not. When Ponzer measured their total daily energy burn, it was roughly the same as yours. Read that again. A Hadza hunter, moving all day, burns about the same number of calories as you, sitting at a desk. Your body, it turns out, is not a simple furnace. When you move more, it quietly saves energy elsewhere, dialing down other systems to keep your total burn within a narrow range. Ponzer calls this constrained energy expenditure, and it detonates the idea that ancient humans were lean simply because they exercised more. So if it was not the movement, what was it? The answer was on their plate. Think about what your ancestors actually ate. Wild game, so lean it was almost impossible to get fat from. Roots and tubers you had to dig and chew for ages. Fruit that was fibrous and only sweet for a few weeks a year. Nuts locked inside hard shells. Every single food came wrapped in effort, in fiber, in bulk. To get 1,000 calories, you had to eat an enormous volume, and your stomach was screaming that it was full long before you got there. Now look at that bag of chips. Hundreds of calories, engineered to vanish in minutes, leaving your stomach barely aware you ate at all. This is the heart of it. And a researcher named Kevin Hall proved it with beautiful precision. At the National Institutes of Health, he took 2 groups and fed them meals matched for calories, sugar, fat, and salt. The only difference was that one diet was made of whole, minimally processed foods, and the other of ultra-processed foods. Same numbers on paper. And yet the people eating the ultra-processed diet ate about 500 extra calories a day, without being told to, and they gained weight. Same calories available. Completely different outcome. The processing itself was making people overeat. Why? Because modern food is not just food anymore. It has been engineered. For millions of years, your brain used simple signals to know when to stop eating. Fullness in the stomach, fiber, the time it takes to chew. Ancient food respected those signals. But modern processed food is designed, deliberately, to slip right past them. It is soft, so you barely chew. It is calorie-dense, so the fullness signal arrives too late. And it hits combinations of sugar, fat, and salt that almost never existed together in nature, lighting up your reward system like nothing your ancestors ever tasted. The scientist Stefan Guillenet has described how this hijacks the ancient machinery in your brain. You are not weak-willed. You are running prehistoric software against food that was specifically built to defeat it. A wild strawberry and a strawberry milkshake are not the same signal to your brain. One says, a little treat, in season. The other screams, eat everything, this will never come again. And here is the cruelest part. That screaming voice was once a survival gift. In the ancient world, food was unpredictable. A successful hunt, a tree heavy with ripe fruit, these were rare windfalls that might not come again for weeks. So evolution built you to feast when you could, to crave sugar and fat intensely, and to store every spare calorie as fat for the lean times ahead. The person who could not stop eating the honey they found was the person who survived the coming famine. That instinct kept your ancestors alive. In a world of scarcity, a body that hoarded fat was a body that lived. But then, in a blink of evolutionary time, the famine never came. For the first time in the entire history of life, a species built an environment where high-calorie food is endless, cheap, and everywhere. A world with no lean season, no hungry winter, just an unbroken summer of sugar, available at any hour, requiring almost no effort to obtain. Your body is still bracing for a famine that modern life has quietly abolished. It is still storing for a winter that never arrives. So your ancient survival instinct, the one that saved your ancestors, has become the very thing working against you. You are not fighting a lack of willpower. You are fighting 2 million years of evolution, armed with a food supply designed by scientists to be irresistible. Now you can finally see the whole picture. Ancient humans were not lean because they burned more, because their bodies quietly refused to do that. They were lean because their food was bulky, fibrous, and honest. Food that filled them up long before it could make them fat. Their brains received the same stop signals your brain still sends today, and their world never offered anything engineered to override them. They lived in a body built for scarcity, inside a world that actually was scarce. You live in that same ancient body, but your world has been turned upside down. This is why the answer was never really about discipline. When you eat a whole bag of chips and feel that flicker of shame, understand what is actually happening. A brain shaped by 2 million years of hunger is doing exactly what it was designed to do, responding perfectly to a signal it was never, ever meant to receive. So look down at that bag of chips again. It is not a test of your character. It is a message from a world that no longer exists, speaking to a body that never got the news. Your ancestors were not stronger than you. They were simply never handed the one thing your body was never built to resist.